Hello everyone, my name's Chris with the Fish Reef Project, and I want to share with you some video that I shot in 45 feet of water off of Santa Barbara. And after about 30 dives and looking at 6 locations, this site you're looking at in front of you will be the seafloor lease site for the first 5-acre fish reef off of Santa Barbara. As you can see, there's not too much going on. There's a lot of holes in the bottom. Those are mostly tunics. The bottom's fairly soft, as you see in a moment. And it may seem a little bit counterintuitive to want to put a reef in an area where there's not a whole lot of existing life. There's a clam. But the idea is that we're not going to disturb an existing reef system. Now, there is some life here, but it's under the mud. And it's a very dynamic ecosystem, so it's used to a lot of change and shifts in the sand. So when we put the reefs down, those tube worms will just burrow down and come back out somewhere else. And there's literally thousands of square kilometers of this same mud seafloor ecosystem in California. This is literally what most of the seafloor looks like in California. There's not a lot of reefs. We may think there are, but no, reefs are rare oases of life, and we definitely need to make more of them. There's a little piece of laminaria you just saw off to your left, and there's some basically shrubbery on the seafloor. There's no fish, not even a lizard fish wants to come out and play. There's a Kellett's whelk. And another unattached piece of giant kelp. More holes for tunics and feather dusters. As you can see, I'm probing the seafloor. Ideally, most reefs, there's a little tiny baby halibut, do exist on harder bottom. But the idea here is to prove the concept. We want to take an area that is otherwise, by most measurable standards, an unproductive seafloor, and put down a well-designed 5-acre fish reef that closely mimics natural reef material using reef balls of various sizes, ranging from 3 feet high up to 4 feet high. There is an attached piece of laminaria, and also known as kombu by its Japanese name. It is a very tenacious plant because it's going down through the mud and attaching to harder substrate, probably 6 or 7 inches below the seafloor. At any rate, the idea is to create a self-sustaining, thriving marine ecosystem where one did not exist before, where fish actually go to spawn and lay eggs and create new life where it didn't exist before, not just draw it from other areas. There are no surrounding kelp beds for at least 3/4 of a mile. There's no nearby marine protected areas. There's not even a drop off to a shelf nearby. This is basically flat, featureless seafloor. And after we put down our 5 acres of reefs, there's a clam. Within 18 months, it will begin to mimic a thriving marine reef ecosystem with all of the members of the underwater caste present, all the way from semi-pelagic large white sea bass, perhaps even a yellowtail or two in the summer, large calico bass, a variety of the sebastes, the rockfish, especially the juvenile rockfish. That's one thing we learned on our pilot project where we put down 2 reef balls, is that the small rockfish quickly find the reef balls and use it as shelter and escape predation. There's a type of tunic there. That's what lives in most of the holes. Sort of a cross between an anemone and a worm. Most life in the sea starts as plankton, zooplankton for animals and phytoplankton for fish. And 99% of that plankton dies. There's an egg mass of some kind in a starfish eating a squid. oh wow, I guess that squid dropped its eggs and dropped to the seafloor. Either that or it was a very slow squid, and that starfish was able to catch it. See how it's just grazing the side of it there. And most of the plankton die and become detritus and eventually become petroleum. And we're just going to allow just a fraction more of that plankton to settle down and become greater life forms, become plants and animals. And those animals will create a self-sustaining ecosystem. The kelp will reduce acid levels locally within the kelp bed. They will remove tons of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. The invertebrate filter feeders that settle on the reefs will... Oh, there's a squid. It's an actual live one. Again with a starfish. There must be a relationship. He's changing colors. Boom, he's gone. The filter feeders, such as scallops and soft corals like sea fans and barnacles, they will grab the particulate matter out of the water. There is basically an underwater pile of Kellett's whelks in breeding formation. It's kind of a Kellett's whelk love-in, I guess you could say. And the reefs will actually serve like big giant biological filters and remove a lot of man-made pollution and clean up the water. It's one of the most amazing attributes, using natural mechanisms to help clean the ocean. And we all want a cleaner ocean. All the fish want a cleaner ocean. Now we're coming up on... That is a piece of a boat. It's a fiberglass piece of a boat. And as you can see, it's the only piece of structure in all of this. And it is full of 5 different kinds of marine algae. And I spotted a crab on there. And it's proof that when we put down hard structure, stuff will grow all over it. So it's sort of like bringing water to the desert. There's a couple more Kellett's whelks. They look like they're in love. And there is a crab. Looks like a yellow rock crab. Missing a claw. He was on the losing end of a fight, it looks like. He didn't like to be disturbed. We'll leave him alone. He's licking his wounds, apparently. And we're in about 45 feet of water, several miles southwest of Santa Barbara Harbor. And more muddy seafloor. There's a piece of algae attached. So there is life here. It's just not very abundant, and the life that is there is under the mud. So that about wraps up the recon dive on the Future Fish Reef site of Santa Barbara. And I hope that you'll join me in supporting this project. There are dozens of us that have put in literally thousands of unpaid man hours to make it a reality. Local volunteers and then our friends at the Reef Ball Foundation in Florida. And so stay tuned. We will send you monthly monitoring videos once the reef balls are in place, including time-lapse photography and possibly even some nighttime time-lapse photography. And we can create a big, thriving underwater ecosystem for everyone and everything to enjoy. And that's a depiction made by Amadeo Backer of a completed fish reef. A couple of reef balls underwater up in Canada. A picture of a rendering of the reef ball layout. And this is what it looks like in a tropical setting. And there's the gang, the Fish Reef gang in front of our mold. Thank you very much for joining us, and stay tuned for good things to come.